In this video, we're going to talk about constitutions. Politics is making decisions in groups. But before that can happen, the group must be formalized. Whether it is a condo board, a corporation, or a country, before the group can start, there needs to be some kind of establishment of rules and procedures for actually running the group. And that is usually done through a constitution. What is a constitution? Well, constitution is a fundamental set of rules that dictate how the state or how the group is going to work. If it's a country, how long will the government last? Will there be term limits for the president? What about rules for making rules? If there's going to be a procedure for passing laws, is that going to be done by a parliament, or will it be done by a president or a monarch who rules by decree? How does that look? The Constitution will dictate that process. One important characteristic that constitutions have is that they are entrenched. That means they're difficult to change. You can't just change a constitution by a simple act of the legislature or a decree. It has to be harder to change than normal, regular order for passing laws and making rules. Constitution fulfills several important functions. Number one, it's going to establish the structures of government. Is it going to be an executive that's separate from the legislative branch, a king, a president? What does that look like? The Constitution will also limit the power of the government. Typically that's done through some kind of Bill of Rights or Charter of Rights that protects the citizens from the government. There's certain things that the government can't take away, certain areas where the government power cannot infringe. There would also be some mechanism for changing, and that's the amending formula. Also, in addition to those functional aspects, constitutions also have a symbolic narrative function. They tell a story. They describe how the group came into being and give a history of how the Constitution was formed. That is typically done through the preamble. The preamble is like an introduction or a preface, something that precedes the main text of the document. Here's a famous example, the preamble to the American Constitution. We, the people of the United States, they want to establish justice, domestic tranquility, liberty, posterity, hereby do ordain this Constitution of the United States of America. Very aspirational language, very emotive, designed to really elicit a positive response when people refer to the Constitution. By contrast, the preamble to the Canadian Constitution is a little more sterile. Whereas we've got a few provinces we want to join together, similar in principle to the government over there in the United Kingdom. Not very inspiring, very mechanical, and the process around this constitution really reflected that. Others, here's an example, the People's Republic of China, an incredibly long preamble. But this section, this is just a small section of the preamble, talks about the arduous and tortuous armed struggle that the people had to go through, thus securing power and becoming masters in their own country. Again, talking about the revolution, which again leads into the description of the state and some of the rules for organizing the state. There are two main types of constitutions. Just important to note, there are written constitutions, the United States Constitution, on a piece of paper. You can go look at it in the National Archives. Others, like the United Kingdom, have unwritten constitutions. The foundational rules for the United Kingdom come through the common law, judicial decisions, and parliamentary precedents. That's an unwritten constitution. It's possible to have a combination of both. Canada, for example, has a constitution that combines written elements and some of the unwritten stuff, kind of like the United Kingdom. So it's possible to have written, unwritten, or a hybrid that combines both. Just to recap, the Constitution is a fundamental set of laws, helps dictate how the state is organized, has to be difficult to change, otherwise it wouldn't really work. And again, there are practical functions and symbolic functions associated with the Constitution. Tell the state how it's going to work, also helps make people feel good, and some attachment to the history behind the document.